You know, it's a midterm election year. Now, brief little tutorial on how this works. Every 2 years, members of the House of Representatives, there's 435 of them in total, are up for re-election. They get 2 years, a 2-year term. Every 4 years, you get to vote on a president and vice president. They run as a ticket together. And then every 6 years, your United States senators are up. They get 6 years, 6-year term. So 2, 4, 6. Now, in my opinion, what quintessentially are elections about? Well, they're a chance for the citizenry, all of us, to register our voice, let them know what is and is not working, who we think is doing a good job and who we think is doing a horrible job. That's quintessentially what elections are about. They run to represent us. So we vote for who we think is going to be the best representation for us. Simple as that. They make it too complicated, politics. That's why people don't understand it. And they do that purposefully. I'm not going to tell you who. We'll leave it at that. So, a common conservative talking point that you hear during election seasons is the question of what has the Democratic Party done for African American or black people? And they say this about the Latino community too. What has the Democratic Party done for the Latino community? Each time conservatives, right around election time, ask this question. Now wait for it. You're going to be shocked and surprised to find out that I think that's an actually really good question to ask. You see, every citizen, and if you vote as a constituency or as a bloc due to ethnicity, religion, anything, you really should ask every candidate in every political party, what have you done for me lately? So conservatives, generally white conservatives, ask this as a rhetorical question to the African American and Latino community. What has the Democrat Party done for you? You always vote for them, but what do they do for you actually? This is a question that a lot of minority constituencies get. The Asian community doesn't get it as much, but they do from time to time. There used to be a time when the Republican Party reached out to Muslim Americans, but ever since 9/11, they sort of kind of played this card that, well, they're afraid to get into elevators with Muslims because they might strap a bomb on them, according to Congresswoman Lauren Boebert and what she said about her colleague. But back to that question, what has the Democratic Party done for African Americans and Latino people? It's a good question. And before those two constituency groups go to vote, if they vote Democrat, that should be front and center on their mind. What have the Democrats done for them? I mean, there was DACA that was done under the Obama-Biden administration. Historic, landmark. But then Reagan, way back in the 1980s, a Republican, granted amnesty to 11 million undocumented people in this country. So the Republican Party has done quite a bit, I would say, for immigrants in this country, historically. So Every group should ask this question because it's very important. You should try to refrain from being a monolith, because then you can get taken for granted by candidates or political parties. So it's a good question to ask. But here's my thing. Why doesn't the Democrat Party ever ask this question of constituency groups to vote Republican? What has the Republican Party done for rural white Americans lately? You know, I never hear that question. Conservatives never offer up that question. What has the Republican Party done for rural white Americans lately? Well, there's a candidate run by the name of Jasmine. She's running in the 11th district in North Carolina. Now, get this. The 11th district is a very rural, white, solidly conservative red, dark red district. They send Republican after Republican after Republican after Republican to the House of Representatives. You could be a Nazi and have an R behind your name, and they would send you to the House of Representatives, as they did with now former Congressman Madison Cawthorn. You see, he lost in his primary. He went a little too cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Now, the reason why I said what has rural white Americans received from the Republican Party of late is because I'm hyper-focused on this district in particular. What did Madison Cawthorn deliver for the constituents of District 11 in North Carolina during his tenure? You want to know the answer to that question? Jamie Beach-Ferrara knows the answer. He contributed nothing to that district. You want to know what he did the whole time he was in Congress? Technically, he's still in Congress because the new Congress doesn't get sworn in until January of next year. You want to know the whole thing of what he did while he was a member of Congress? Pretty much, he was a on-the-libs type of MAGA Republican. Now, for those of you who don't know, MAGA stands for Make America Great Again. It's an acronym. And he was a Make America Great Again type of Republican. And basically what Make America Great Again type of Republicans do when they're elected is they seek out the limelight. They say and do the craziest things to get attention. So Madison Cawthorn would share social media posts of himself in a wheelchair because he was wheelchair bound, with big, huge automatic rifles and weapons. He was known as the man in a wheelchair with a lot of weapons and guns. And he would always talk this talk of potential violence in the country. Like it was always very incendiary what he was going to do to people who disagreed with him. Now, conservatives all across America ate this up. Bear in mind, Madison Cawthorn in his district, none of the constituents ever saw him. I don't think he ever held one constituency meeting with the community. You can check that, look into that. I'm not sure. I can't say for a fact. But the constituents of that district said they never really saw him in the district. You want to know why? Because he was giving paid speeches to Turning Toilet Paper USA. It's really Turning Points USA, but I say Turning Toilet Paper USA. Now, Turning Toilet Paper USA is a far-right conservative youth organization. And basically what they do there is they give speeches and throw out red meat, talk about Antifa and socialists and Marxists taking over, talk about how transgender people are using your daughter's bathrooms, your teachers are teaching your kids CRT, and they might have porno in the classroom. You know, they do all of that shit there. And he gave numerous paid speeches, but nobody ever saw him in the district. How many jobs were created specifically under Madison Cawthorn's term in that district? How many jobs did he bring back? See, these are tangibles. These are quantifiables that you should ask your politicians when they represent you. What are you actually doing? They should be able to give you a spreadsheet of tangibles. You know how you have to list at your job quantifiables, things that you can read. It's called a metric. You can ask your politicians, your lawmakers for that. They would provide it to you if they're actually really doing their job. But see, Madison Cawthorn wouldn't have been able to provide anything. He would have just been telling you, I'm under constant attack by the liberal media, which is all that he did. He said he was under constant attack by the liberal media. And then in the end, it turns out that it wasn't the liberal media that turned him in. It was the conservative media that did away with him. See, he made one crucial error. Never air out the good old boy's dirty laundry in public. And he did that. He gave an interview. I think you might be able to find it online, where he talked about seeing members of his own political party, the Republican Party, doing bump stocks of cocaine. Now, maybe he was at the same party with Representative Matt Gaetz, because we know he did cocaine and had prostitutes. We know this. But we're not sure if he attended the same party. And directly after that interview was aired, released, of Congressman Madison Cawthorn saying that about members of his own party, I want to say less than 72 hours later, there was a videotape of him in the bed simulating something with his first cousin, completely in the buff. And that was the end of Madison Cawthorn's political career. So what am I trying to say here to you, North Carolina 11? I'm trying to say this. The Republican Party does a masterful job of projection. They ask the question, what has the Democrat Party done for black people? What has the Democrat Party done for Latino people? But you know what question they never ask? What has the Republican Party done for rural white Americans? What did Madison Cawthorn deliver to that district the whole time he was there? Zilch. Nada. Zero. Nothing. And now they're saying, oh, we're in good hands. He's gone. We've got a new candidate in Chuck Edwards. It's an open seat in North Carolina 11. That rarely happens, where there's no incumbent running. So you get a fresh start, North Carolina 11. So listen to what I'm about to say. Now, Chuck Edwards is running against Jamie Beach-Ferrara. Chuck Edwards is an old school type of conservative. He's stuck in the early 2000s, where they used to talk about gay people being evil and doing horrible things to your children. Now the Republican Party has sort of kind of moved on from that talking point. Now they're just scared of transgender people coming into your kids' bathrooms. But ask yourself, why did they move on? Well, it kind of got old when the American people started having family members who were lesbians, family members who were gay, family members who were bisexual. When you start to know someone, it starts to get less insidious as they were making it out to be. So they know that transgender people in our society represent a tiny, tiny, less than a percentage of a fraction of a population. So if you don't know any transgender people, they gotta be out to get your kids. They're the spawn of Satan. I'm telling you, this is how they do politics. And look, it is what it is. I just want you to see the forest for the trees here. I want you to understand what politicians do, which is politics. But I also want you to understand, are you getting anything for it? You know, you can be conservative, you can be liberal, but you should get something out of your politician regardless of what your philosophical beliefs are. And a lot of times, these rural districts, these solidly red Republican districts, you in those districts, you year after year remain in poverty. You look at Appalachia and West Virginia. Now, conservatives love to talk about Chicago and the crime in the inner cities in Chicago. But they never talk about the severe poverty in Appalachia or how Alaska leads the nation in murder, rape, and other violent crime. Did you know that? Alaska, along with Tennessee, lead the whole entire United States in rapes, murders, and other violent crimes. So when the Republican Party is out there telling you that they're tough on law and order and that they're going to do something about the violence in our communities, the last time I looked, Alaska was a deeply red state that's mostly white and Native American. And the last time I looked, Tennessee was a solidly red state located in the Bible Belt. So if you can't even do anything about violence in your own states that are solidly red, dark red, how are you going to tell us that you're going to go to certain communities when you don't know the people in those communities and solve their problems? You see, something's just not adding up. And you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to deduce that. You really don't. Now, Chuck Edwards is going to tell you that Jamie Beach-Ferrara, wait for it, she's a lesbian. And he's going to tell you that that's a sin according to the Bible. So you shouldn't vote for her because she's a sinner. And she's going to go to hell. This is what extremely religious fundamentalist zealots believe. Now, do I know whether Chuck Edwards believes this or not? I do not. But he knows that there's a lot of people who hold to that belief in very solidly red conservative districts. And so what they do every time there's an election is play to religious fears, play to bigotry, play to dogma. And then what happens? They don't have to do anything for you because they already know that you're going to vote for them. Madison Cawthorn knew that he never had to do a single damn thing for anyone in that district. Now, most of the time, a few of them will show up to community meetings. But he was just like, fuck it. I don't give a fuck. They're going to vote Republican because they've been voting Republican for centuries. Who else are they going to vote for? A Democrat? That's a joke. He'd walk out the room. They'd never believe it. But things are a little bit different now. People have wised up to the little okie dokie game that a lot of politicians are playing. A lot of politicians are playing this okie dokie game with you. People are wising up to it. And they're really wanting to, as they used to say back in the day, kick the tire and do a thorough inspection. And I think that's the greatest thing ever. Because what you're going to find upon your thorough inspection is that there's a lot of people not really doing the job, not capable of doing the job, but are getting elected solely because they're playing to fears. Chuck Edwards is going to play to your fears. He knows that it's a solidly red district and that you always vote Republican. So you're probably not going to ask Chuck, hey Chuck, what is the Republican Party actually going to do for me if I vote for you guys? Because we know for sure nothing got done the last 2 years under Madison Cawthorn, and he was a Republican. And not only did he not do anything, there was no real motivation by the Republican Party to make him do anything for that district. And then after he started talking negative, get this, North Carolina 11, this is how they play the game. After he started talking negative about members of his own party is when they turned on him. All the members started saying, he hasn't done anything for the district. He's a lousy Congress member. You heard it. Go back and listen. The Republican Senator, Richard Burr, he started pouring garbage and trouncing the man. But he didn't say a damn word when he was a Congress member, not doing anything for you. So what I'm trying to tell you is this, North Carolina 11. Chuck Edwards is going to play that same game on you. He's going to rile you up with fear, and then he's going to get to D.C., and he's going to do the same thing Ted Budd did. Nothing. Ted Budd was in Congress forever. What did he do for North Carolina? That now he's decided he wants to up and up become United States Senator. You know, Ted Budd has been a climate change denier his whole entire career in Congress. Now that the South is starting to experience severe ecological disasters, do you think that he may have seen the light? Absolutely not. He voted against the infrastructure bill. Let me tell you, a lot of that infrastructure money is going to go down to Florida to rebuild. It's going to go down to South Carolina and North Carolina to rebuild. Ted Budd voted against it. Okay? Just bear that in mind. Because he's trying to say Sherry Beasley doesn't care about North Carolina. Where Sherry Beasley has been a judge. She hasn't been responsible for getting money for the state of North Carolina. He has. And he voted against the infrastructure bill. And he voted against the Inflation Reduction Bill, which is all of the Green New Deal policies that conservatives love to scoff and poo-poo about. But you know what? If you don't do those kinds of things, the reality is simple, North Carolina 11. The ecological disasters are only going to continue to intensify and get worse and worse. Not just here, but globally. So, make sure you know that you have someone who did not do anything when he was in Congress, now running to be senator. Can you imagine that? I'm going to do a rally for Sherry Beasley. Can you imagine that? The President of the United States called her a Marxist. I said, Sherry Beasley is a Marxist? It seems like he uses this term racially. I don't know. Check into that for me. Because it seems like he always goes around the country calling black Democratic candidates Marxists. I don't know. But I do know this. Sherry Beasley is not a fucking Marxist. She was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in North Carolina. And she served honorably with distinction. We never saw her at any socialist meetings. Get the fuck out of here. This is the kind of bullshit that they tell you, so they don't have to do anything for you. Ted Budd is not going to do a damn thing for you. He didn't do anything in the United States House of Representatives. And now he has the gall. He has the gall to ask for a promotion to become a United States Senator. Please don't endorse that kind of mediocrity. That's mediocrity. Back to Chuck Edwards here. He's going to be just like Madison Cawthorn. He's going to raise a lot of money by saying a lot of crazy things. He's going to try to seek out the limelight. But at the end of the day, nothing is going to get done for the constituents that live in the district. Now, on the other hand, Jamie Beach-Ferrara is a new type of politician because she's not really a politician. She's been an ordained minister. And she's worked with youth as a social worker. So, here's the thing. I'm a little hesitant of religious people entering public office. But she's not one of those kooky religious people. She actually has worked with people to get things done who are suffering in that district. You know, she's worked in the food banks. She's worked with women who have gone through domestic violence. She's done the actual work on the ground. Sometimes people get into those positions and they just want to preach the gospel, but don't want to live the actual work. Jamie Beach-Ferrara has actually done the work. Now, you have a choice. She's going to vote to cap insulin at $35 a month. Madison Cawthorn voted against that. He had a chance. He represents the Republican Party. He voted against it. Jamie Beach-Ferrara, when that vote comes up again, will vote for it. So, like I said prior to this, you have a choice between whether you want someone who's going to go to Washington, D.C. and help the situation, or you want to send someone to Washington, D.C. who's going to hinder the situation. Jamie Beach-Ferrara will help the situation. Chuck Edwards is going to hinder the situation. He wants to play OBGYN along with Lindsey Graham and set arbitrary dates for when women can have a medical procedure on their bodies. Think about how crazy this insanity is. You, who aren't a woman, want to determine for women what they should do medically with their bodies, and you want to set an arbitrary date as to when they can make that determination. Raise your hand if you think that's smart. Women in that district are terrified. It's the word on the street. All I can go by is the word on the street. Women are terrified. They're like, this time you guys have gone too far. We were fine with the talking. We put up with the abuse. But now you're going to tell us what type of medical procedures we can do with our bodies. It's a bridge too far, I think. And I think a lot of Americans, even in solidly red districts, are waking up to this fact. But they have gone way too far this time. I mean, it's bonkers. I don't know what to tell you. When I learned about it, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Lindsey Graham, Rick Scott, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, Matt Gaetz, Chuck Edwards, Ted Budd want to tell women when they can and cannot have a medical procedure on their bodies. And get this, North Carolina 11. These are the least of the least most qualified men, even in their gender, to make that determination. They could have found more qualified men. You know, men who are actually OBGYNs. But no, they found the most ignorant men to try to make a judgment about women in our society. It's a dirty job, as they say. But somebody's got to do it. And nobody else was willing to say it or do it. So they sent the how. You know, I'm always up to doing it. But it's true, North Carolina 11. It's true. We definitely need more women. Informed women. We just can't have any type of women. I'm not supporting just anybody just because they're a woman to go and represent us in D.C. I'm planning to. I wasn't. But then I said, I better. I'm going to campaign and make a get out the vote rally for Congressman Lauren Boebert's opponent. Did anybody see it? It's a shock poll. Apparently, District 3 in Colorado. Little off topic, North Carolina 11. But maybe you want to know this too. Apparently, in District 3 in Colorado, people are sick of the Bobo circus show. And she's only ahead by 3 percentage points in another solidly Republican district. See, I told you, I think people are starting to ask the question. Because conservatives, you might have shot yourself in the foot here with this one. You always ask the black community, the Latino community, what has the Democrat Party done for you? But now people are also starting to think, hey, wait a minute, we vote for you all the time. What have you done for us lately? And they're checking the receipts, as the kids would say. And they're like, the balance is 0. They haven't done shit for us. They haven't done shit in North Carolina 11, that district. Look, if there's an infrastructure project that's going to get done in that district, it wasn't because of Madison Cawthorn voting for it. It was because of Joe Biden ran through an infrastructure bill on a party line vote by people who don't even live in that district or represent it, who voted for that district to have some type of infrastructure. So think about that. You send people to Washington, D.C. like Madison Cawthorn, and they get there and they don't vote to even help you out. And then they come back in front of you 2 years later and ask you, like a sucker, to vote for them. And because you don't know how the game goes. You do it every time, like clockwork. But they're getting scared this time. They're getting scared this time. Because this time is not like every other time. This time people are, what do they say? Woke. Yeah, this time people are really woke. They're woke to all the games that have been played. You know, a word on January 6th. That was an insurrection. And that's not the way you go about making change if you're really upset. The way you go about making change if you're really upset. And I guarantee you, the few bums that stormed the Capitol, but there's many, many Americans who wouldn't storm the Capitol, but are super pissed off about what doesn't get done for them. I guarantee you that's the case. And so, we're exercising our right to vote. And that's why they're really, really, really in the South trying to take away as much voting rights as they can. Because they're scared the people know that they have the right to exercise their power and get these people who are not doing anything for them out of office. As they used to say back in the day, the gigs is up. People have figured it out. Jamie Beach-Ferrara is a bread and butter type of candidate. She's going to get things done. Chuck Edwards is going to go to D.C. as a clown and join the circus of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Louis Gohmert, Paul Gazar, and a whole host of other clowns that operate the circus in D.C. and make sure that nothing gets done. Now, if you want to send someone who's going to ensure that nothing gets done, just like his predecessor, Madison Cawthorn, did, by all means, you vote for Chuck Edwards. He's going to tell you that Jamie is a lesbian. She cuddles with another woman. Oh my goodness. Whatever are we going to do? He's going to scare you about Jamie. But I want you to know, Jamie will go to D.C. and make sure that you get jobs. She'll go to D.C. and make sure that infrastructure gets built in your district. She'll go to D.C. and make sure that you don't pay more than $35 a month on your insulin. She'll go to D.C. and pass a paid family leave plan. She'll go to D.C. and get things done. If you want to send someone who's going to hinder progress, you go and you vote for Chuck Edwards. If you want to send someone who's going to get something done, finally, in rural America, because we never talk about that the Republican Party does jack shit for constituents who are very loyal to them. If you want to send someone who's going to finally get something done for you, vote for Jamie Beach-Ferrara. Yes, she's a Democrat, but Democrats are going to actually deliver for you because the Republican Party has not. They talk about other communities, but those other communities are obstructed and marginalized by the Republican Party. Did they vote for anything? Did they vote for the stimulus package? No, they didn't. They haven't done anything besides give wealthy people tax cuts. That seems to be the only thing that arouses them when there's talk of cutting taxes on the rich. Oh boy. They don't miss that food. My goodness, you would think it was a national holiday. They come in wearing their red, white, and blue. They're talking and laughing amongst themselves. North Carolina 11, do you want to know why they get so happy when they can cut taxes on the rich? Because you've sent them to D.C. year after year after year after year, and they become rich. So they're cutting taxes on themselves. Send Jamie Beach-Ferrara, and shit will get done for North Carolina 11. I promise you. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back and tell you. But I know I'm not. Don't let them scare you about Jamie. She's a good woman, and she will do a superb job. I'm proud to endorse Jamie Beach-Ferrara for North Carolina 11. Get registered. Go out and knock on doors. Make phone calls. Text your friends. Let everyone know that this is important. This is about you getting what you're supposed to get and what you deserve. And think about it like this, North Carolina 11. Why would you want to send a Republican after the Republicans sent someone who made sure that he didn't do jack shit for you and laughed about it to your face, behind your back? They all knew that Madison Cawthorn wasn't doing his job, but they waited till he attacked them to then say he's a lousy member of Congress. He doesn't do his job. He doesn't show up in his constituency. They knew all of that. They're trying to bamboozle America. I'm going to keep driving that home because that's what the Republican Party is attempting to do. They're saying because it's a difficult stretch we're in, they've made an elected judgment that they're going to try to bamboozle us. I wouldn't vote for a party that knowingly knew that they had a member of their own caucus who was doing jack shit for the district. And now they want you to send another Republican back? No, I would vote for a Democrat just on that. Just on that fact alone. I'd be like, you tried to fuck me over and you knew you were fucking me over. And now you want me to put in his predecessor, his protege? It looked like Siamese twins. Chuck Edwards and Madison Cawthorn. They both know each other. They're good friends. They're trying to bamboozle you. You vote Jamie. Don't let them do it, North Carolina 11.